Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2 launched in 2024, and since then, it's become the ultimate theme park Warhammer 40k game. The game released with a great campaign that was crafted by 40k fans for 40k fans, but the game's replayability left a lot to be desired. But in 2026, Space Marine 2 has become the go-to game for any Warhammer 40k fan or aspiring 40k fan. And that's because the game has become a theme park in that it now offers content for anybody, whether you're looking for story, class fantasy, progression, endgame, or even player versus player. There aren't many other games out there that could package all of these different elements into one cohesive experience, let alone in the 40k genre. So what exactly does Space Marine 2 offer in 2026? What is the state of the game? Well, whenever you boot up Space Marine 2, the game effectively offers at the very least 3 different gameplay experiences. You've got the campaign, PvE, and PvP. Starting with the campaign, the first thing that should be said is that the story or narrative presented here is almost exactly the same kind of format or formula that you would find in any other Space Marine novel. But what Space Marine 2 offers that a 40k novel can simply never offer is the atmosphere, visuals, and sound. The presentation in Space Marine 2 is absolutely amazing. The campaign is great for what it is, but in my opinion, it's more of an introduction to the rest of the game. The experience offered in the game's PvE game modes, whether it be in Operations, Siege Mode, or Stratagems, and the game's PvP game modes, is much more interactive and satisfying, especially in 2026. Space Marine 2 offers 7 classes playable across both PvE and PvP. The Tactical, Assault, Bulwark, Vanguard, Sniper, Heavy, and the newly released Tech Marine. In addition to this, the game also flexes the Space Marine arsenal as it offers some of the most weapon variety of any 40k game, especially when it comes to some of the setting's more iconic weapons. So whether you're a fan of purging Xenos or heretics in a variety of different ways, or you're just looking to shake up your gameplay experience, the game offers so much in terms of loadout customization that you're going to be able to find playstyles that cater to you. In the game's PvE game modes, you're going to find much more in terms of progression, challenge, and endgame than you are in the game's PvP game modes. Space Marine 2 can be seen as a very grindy game in that it takes a very long time in order to level up every single class and every single weapon. Back in 2025, the game introduced a prestige leveling system for its classes, which allows you to unlock prestige perks by resetting your level every 25 levels, with level 25 being the max level in the game for each class. And what this effectively means is that if you really wanted to max out a class and unlock its full potential, you need to get to level 125 for that class. On top of this, you also have to level up your weapons and earn accolades from the game's Stratagems game mode in order to unlock heroic variants of these weapons. Fortunately for you, it's never a bad time to get into Space Marine 2, because this game isn't a seasonal experience like an ARPG. A lot of the leveling and progression is the game. Additionally, the game's Operations, Siege Mode, and Stratagems offer really good replayability. As of March 2026, the game now has 12 different operations and 6 different difficulties. And on top of these operations, you have the Stratagems game mode, which takes the operations and throws all sorts of different modifiers into them. So now, not only does the game offer great replayability in the form of its various operations and the many permutations of different modifiers that can roll for the daily or weekly stratagems, but there's also a lot of incentive to play stratagems, specifically because if you do the normal stratagems, then you get both XP and accolades, and if you do the hard stratagems, you just get more accolades. Accolades unlock heroic weapon variants, which were added to the game in 2025, but more continue to release in 2026. These weapons aren't necessarily supposed to be better than their relic counterparts, but what they do offer is a unique take on that weapon. For example, with the heroic variant of the Thunderhammer, whenever you perform its charged attack, it leaves a shock grenade effect on the ground. The Bulwark class has a ton of perks that synergize with Shock Grenade, and so you could use this to make a unique Bulwark build if you wanted to. And because the heroic weapons come pre-packaged with stats that are equivalent to their relic tier counterparts, you could use heroic weapons to effectively power level your arsenal, because typically you wouldn't be able to bring or wouldn't want to bring an under-leveled weapon into a higher level activity, but with heroic weapons you can. So what the developers have done is they've added extra incentive for you to experience different game modes while you're leveling up in Space Marine 2, especially if you're a complete newcomer. But once you've put a couple hundred hours into the game, what is there for you to do if you're looking for a challenging or engaging endgame? This is where things like absolute difficulty operations, siege mode, and hard stratagems really come into play. A group of 3 of the best players that Space Marine 2 has to offer can go into absolute difficulty and clear every single operation with a 100% chance of success. But when it comes to doing that by yourself in a true solo, which the game now offers for you to be able to experiment with, it becomes a bit more dicey. The same can be said for Siege Mode, especially when it comes to the hard difficulty. A group of 3 experienced players may be able to push to wave 25, but can they push all the way to wave 50? And when it comes to hard stratagems, what is the point of adding some of the hardest modifiers in the game to the highest difficulty in the game? Well, if you're able to clear hard stratagems consistently, then you unlock more accolades, which means that not only can you purchase more heroic weapons, but you can also purchase more cosmetics, because you can also use accolades on some of the coolest looking cosmetics in the game. And brother, let me tell you that customizing the look of your Space Marine or cosmetics is the end game for 90% of the community. Although Space Marine 2 doesn't offer kit bashing, it does still offer one of the most highly customizable cosmetic systems in the entire gaming industry. And the developers have done a pretty decent job of designing both the paid and non-paid cosmetics that are available to the player. For example, a lot of the cooler looking pieces of armor are earned by completing operations or by winning in PvP, or unlocked by spending accolades. Whereas a lot of the chapter-based stuff is unlocked through the annual passes or by buying them a la carte as DLC. But I've spoken a lot about PvE. What about the PvP in the game? When it comes to arena-based third-person shooter games, Space Marine 2 PvP is actually really good. It features a good mix of shooting, melee elements, and different grenades to shake the game up while you're playing. Unfortunately, the biggest problem with PvP is that the content release cadence for Space Marine 2 PvP content can't keep up with the rest of the shooter industry. Additionally, arena shooters don't tend to do well in the industry at large. They're kind of a dying genre. Space Marine 2 PvP is really fun for what it is, but the developers of the game should really look into exploring different PvP game modes in Space Marine 3. And this doesn't mean that I want the PvP in the next Space Marine game to be a battle royale or an extraction or anything like that, but whenever I think of war in Warhammer 40k, I think of large-scale battles. Large battles, epic scale, vehicles, and maybe even commander units are the kinds of things that I think Warhammer 40k fans want to see in a PvP third-person shooting experience for Warhammer 40k. And this is all not to say that there isn't any reason to play PvP in Space Marine 2, because there is. If you're a fan of Chaos Space Marines, you could actually unlock really cool armor sets for them if you do well in PvP lobbies. For example, the Alpha Legion are my favorite Trader Legion, so I focused on grinding out the Sniper first because doing well on that class unlocks the Alpha Legion cosmetics. But as someone who grew up on PvP shooters, I know that a lot of people who tend to play these kinds of games aren't just looking for a carrot on a stick. The best PvP shooters either offer you an extremely immersive and epic experience that throws you into the middle of a war zone, or they offer a competitive experience where players can show off their skill. So with all that being said, if you're looking to get Space Marine 2 specifically to get into the PvP, I would reconsider unless you know that this is the kind of genre that you enjoy. I believe that Space Marine 2 has the most value if you're looking at it holistically. If you're looking for a game that has a little bit of everything, a good mix of story, PvE, and PvP, then Space Marine 2 is a really good buy, especially when it's on sale. It comes with a really good value proposition in that anything related to the actual gameplay of the game, anything that you can interact with, the actual content, is all going to come with the base price of the game. Outside of that, any other additional money that you want to spend on the game is all going to be up to you. It's all cosmetics and it's all optional. For the most part, there's no other live service Warhammer game that's in the same position as Space Marine 2. In a lot of the other live service Warhammer games, you have to buy content a la carte or in a bundle in order to experience that content. Whether it be new character classes, new characters in general, new archetypes, or new armies, you're gonna have to pay for them. But in Space Marine 2, everything is included with the base game, including every single update that the game has received since it's launched. As always, guys, I appreciate your viewership. Don't forget to like, hype, and sub, and let me know what you think about the state of the game in 2026. This has been Jefficus, the Emperor Protects.